Hi everyone, Robbo here. You're listening to the Blues Focus podcast. Keep right on.
Hi guys, and welcome back to the Blues Focus podcast. Before we get into today's podcast, I'd just like to give a big shout out to our current patrons. And if you'd like to join these names in the brand new Blues Focus Hall of Fame, you can join our Patreon page for just £1 a month. Perks included will be monthly giveaways and early access to guest pods. The link will be in the description anyway for our Patreon packages. Well, that's enough from me. Let's get straight into today's Blues Focus podcast. Thank you for joining us as always.
Hello and welcome to the Blues Focus podcast with me, your host, John Graham. Once again, many thanks for taking the time to download this pod. And if you're viewing us on YouTube, please don't forget to subscribe. Or if indeed you're downloading on any podcast platform, please rate us, leave comments. Always good to debate. Lots and lots of points that you raise. It's really valuable to us. So, yeah, please keep doing that. Right. Crikey, where do we start here? So I will start the usual. Tom, how are you, mate?
I'm very good, thank you, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I mean, it feels like an eternity since we last caught up, but
yeah, definitely.
It's less than a week.
No.
They say in certainly in football, a week is a long time, and yeah, certainly, obviously we've done a hell of a lot in the last sort of 7 days. So mindful that we haven't really caught up about the Forest game. So why don't we just touch on that, because I think there's a bit of a backdrop from that game into the Derby game. So what were your thoughts on the selection performance highlights from the Forest game?
Hi Birmingham fans, this is Jamie at Fans Favourite. We produce football scarves inspired by classic shirt designs, and we're the new sponsor of the Blues Focus podcast. We're offering you 10% off using the promo code BluesFocus10. Our latest Birmingham City scarf is inspired by the classic kit worn for part of the 1992 season. We know this is a bit of a Marmite shirt amongst Blues fans, but we see the beauty in all shirts. Go check it out at www.fansfavourite.co.uk.
I think selection was good. I was really happy to see us try a different formation. So we went back to the 4-4-2, and Bella had a great game. Sanchez looked decent. It was nice to see that we can still switch back to that system for certain games where you think it might suit more. And I did say in my match preview that I thought 4-4-2 would suit better against Luton's side because they play a 4-3-3. So we kind of matched them up a little bit, but we still played our own way. So we kept our identity, and I thought, to be honest, I thought we were fantastic. I thought we were much better than we were in the Rotherham game. Yes. We played Forest off the park. They didn't offer much other than a header in the first half that hit the bar. But we had a header just before that in the first half that, if it goes either side, it's a goal. Yeah. But unfortunately, it's gone straight at the keeper. Then second half, we were much better. We turned it up a bit. Which we seem to be doing a lot at the moment, just turning up a bit better in the second half.
Yeah.
So Lee Bowyer clearly has a few rockets to fire up some arses, which is good.
Yes.
But yeah, no, we were a bit more energetic, getting forward more, causing problems, winning set pieces. And then obviously it was a set piece in the end. Mark Roberts scores a good header. He's been fantastic recently. And honestly, I actually voted Mark Roberts for my player of the season the other day. Which weirdly, if you told me 3 years ago I'd be voting Mark Roberts as player of the season, I'd have said, are we in League Two? I honestly, when he first came to Blues, I was not a fan. So, I'm really, really pleased with his development.
Just on that, mate, I mean, I'm with you. So my take out from Roberts, and I think the reason that I think there's two major points. So the first one is, I think he does relish that we're now playing to his strengths by means of his throw-ins or getting on the end of crosses, or the one thing that's
letting him go on the wing.
No, absolutely. That was the point I'm going to make, that if we don't go long and we go short and he gets it back to feet, or it breaks to him wide, that he must be absolutely just overflowing with confidence, because he's as I say, he's putting on a sixpence. I mean, and it's not just a defender's floaty cross to the back post. He gets loads of whip on it. And like, if you shut your eyes, it could be Bella or Sanchez knocking that ball in. So I think that number one, I think he's been given the responsibility that everybody, again, we know, not 9 times out of 10, are throwing in their half, he's taking it. He always goes up for corners, so I think he's more in the game. But I think most importantly, and I've been critical about him ever since he signed, that he's got panic on the ball.
Yeah.
And at the moment, with the way that we're playing, I think that Bowyer's just said to him, if you've got it, move it quickly. Don't take time. Don't think about it. If there's a wide pass on short to whoever it is, whether it be Halilovic, Sanchez, whoever it is, get it gone, or Colin, get it gone.
He's a decent passer of the ball as well, in fairness.
The crosses are a testament to that.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that he's a sort of player, and if you think about the crosses, he doesn't hang about. A lot of them, we'll talk about the Derby game in a bit, but there was a first-time side-foot volley cross from the wide, and I mean, that is that's a proper, that's Techers right there.
I was going to say, yeah, it's a real deal.
So, I'm massively surprised. And again, like all Blues players, any player that we criticise, and there's been plenty, I want nothing more than to be completely proven wrong. And there's nothing more. I'm not happier when somebody can say, "What do you think of Mark Roberts?" And I'm saying, since Bo's been there, he's one of the first on the team sheet. So sorry to put him, but I think
it's all right.
I've criticised him as well, mate, and I've got you absolutely right. Whether I'd vote for him as player of the season, I'm not sure, but he's in the mix, no doubt about that. But yeah, sorry.
It's all right. I think there's a few candidates for it, to be honest. Ivan Sanchez, George Friend. I mean, even Halilovic has made a bit of a late push.
Yeah.
There's quite a few candidates, even Jukey. Some might say Harley Dean.
I think it's difficult to. I think it's difficult to make a judgment call, because 3/4 of the season we're in a side that was struggling, and I think the players that were flourishing within that team, George Friend, albeit he wasn't getting picked towards the end of it. Obviously, Sanchez is got to be front and centre there. Outside of that, there aren't many candidates. Now, when you look at the last quarter of the season, it's a pick 'em. I would say there's 5 or 6.
Even Gary Gardner as well, to be fair.
There's 5 or 6. So I think it's any player that managed to put in a level of performance under the madness of Karanka and then kicked on into the Bowyer sort of regime. But to be honest, mate, Colin's been pretty consistent with that. Do you know what I mean? He's been a mainstay.
Do you know what we should do? We should do a Blues Focus end of season awards.
Absolutely.
I think that would be a good laugh.
No,
goal of the season's easy though. Sanchez versus Cardiff. I don't think there's any.
I'm as you know, I'm massively biased to Halilovic, so I would probably go with that.
Oh yeah, the QPR one.
I just thought in the context of the game, that just made a massive difference for us. So
yeah, I just love the source of dribbling through everybody and then striking it top bin.
Yeah, and Terrell's got 2 there in one game, and yeah, we'll probably maybe talk about him later on. So just really wrapping up on the Forest game.
Yeah.
Thoughts about the ending?
Yeah, it was. I thought we were much better in the second half, like I said, and obviously we got the goal we deserved in the end. We could have had about 3 penalties. Not going to lie to you, they were just taking us down left, right, and centre in the box, but that ref was adamant not to give any. But there was one quite late on Amari Miller that got to me the most. I was just like, how are you not giving that? That is a pen, Stonewall. And I just couldn't be asked anymore. I was like, something's going to happen. Something's going to happen. You could feel it in the air that we were going to get screwed over. And that's obviously what's happened in the end. I mean, McGree's really unlucky not to score when he hits that one on the turn from the pass from Leko.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to score, to be honest, not going to lie. And then obviously late on, the last 3 minutes of the game, Forest are piling on the pressure, cross after cross after cross, corner after corner. And then it eventually pays off and they win a penalty because although Jukey... there's not much you can do about it. They're both running certain directions, but Jukey's just a bigger bloke, and McKenna's felt the brute force, and he has just completely killed him, really. So you can understand why the decision has leaned the way it did. However, in fairness, how is it taking the ref that long to make the decision? You know, he stood there for a good 30 seconds thinking, do I give the pen? Don't I give the pen? And Lee Bowyer was right in his post-match comments. He's guessed it. And for me, I don't think you can give such a game-altering decision if you're not certain on it. If you're not certain on our penalties, you're happy not to give them. So I just don't think you can. I feel like you have to apply the same style of refereeing to every decision you make. And the fact that he didn't, I thought, was very, very unfair on Blues. If you're going to give it, you give it. Simple as. You can't just give it as soon as you see a bit of blood on his head. Like you can't just wait. It's just not fair. And as Bo, you said, you're playing with people's lives, really, because we could have been safe. 3 games to go, but in fairness, I'm glad what happened because of the end result. But overall good performance, decent game, and just improved.
I mean, I think that I was disappointed. I've loved obviously the 3 points from Rotherham, but I thought we were pretty poor. I think that had a big part to play in that, but I didn't think we were on it. I didn't like the selection. I thought it was being kind, pragmatic against a side that I think they'd lost 4 on the bounce, and a win puts us safe. So I was a little bit disappointed with that. So really, really happy to see Bella and Sanchez come in. I don't know whether he's played both of those together or started them since he took over. May have done once in one of the early games, but when we're talking about obviously the players that played mainstays under Karanka, those two were the best of a bad bunch. They weren't tearing it up, but you look at the stats, they were both up there on assists, and obviously Sanchez, I think Gallimard got 1 goal, but Sanchez has got a couple. So good to see them in there, and I think it gave us a bit of a freshness, and it certainly gave us, I think, a lot of impetus in the game. Disappointed to see Hogan go off so early. And I think obviously that'll be him done for the season. But I really hope, I don't know what's going to go on with the coaching staff, but I think it was you, Tom, that made the point about when we had Kev Beattie as a coach in the ranks and the impact that he made on Shea. I'd really like to see us recruit somebody that can just put a bit of time into Hogan, because there's no doubt that he's got it. I think we'd all agree with that. He's a natural finisher. I think he just needs a good pre-season, a bit of focus, and I think he could be, with the way Jukey's playing now, an absolute nightmare.
We need to take Zigic from the Serbian national team.
I'd love to see Kev Phillips come in as coaching staff. I just think it's quite similar players.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that would work really well. But I think the overall performance, I expected it to be a lot harder than it was. I thought Forest were abject, really, which for a Chris Hughton side was surprising. But obviously that they were safe at the time, so human nature. Probably they knew that we'd be up for it. And again, ironically, we've actually got a decent home form with Bowyer in charge. So
not lost yet at home under Bowyer.
No, exactly. And I think we had a lot of things going for us, and they were sort of, when's the season over? So even though we, in inverted commas, probably there or thereabouts on safety when we played them, I think there's an impetus about this team, and I think Bowyer really wants to go for the most points and the highest position he can, which I think that will just give him more ammunition when he's negotiating maybe a few players as we go into next season. But overall, I thought we were great. Again, fair play to Roberts, as we said earlier. I think he could have had another one as well. And McGree, I just don't know what we're going to do with him. I want him in the club. I'm not going to lie. I think he's just got. I think he makes I didn't like him at 10, but I like him on the left.
I actually, considering naturally he's actually a number 10, I thought he was more accomplished at left wing back, oddly. No, but he's never really been there.
He's got a wand of a left peg. He really has. So defensively he can clear his lines, but when he gets forward, he's got an absolute rocket on him. So Yeah, I don't know what we're going to do about him. I think it may be one of those that I don't know. With the way the MLS season falls, we may get him in sort of January if we want him. I don't know, but I really like him. And
I think it's up to him, really.
yeah, and if we don't see him, then I've really enjoyed watching him play. And then other than that, were we unlucky? I think we're unlucky with the amount of time that was given. I just didn't see that.
I didn't see 7 minutes. It was more of a 5 minutes for me, to be honest.
To be honest, mate, by the time we blew the full-time whistle, it was 99 minutes and 30-odd seconds. So, and he was poor. I mean, to say he let the game go was an understatement. And I'm a big fan of that. I think there's referees are very quick to blow up for not a lot these days. But, yeah, I mean, we were unlucky on a few penalty decisions. I'm going to call it, as I say, I thought that whilst Jukey was unlucky, yeah, I mean, it looked horrific. I mean, it was like the impact, borderline GBH, but I don't think, there was no intention there. But so I can see why the ref gave it. So yeah, 1-1. I suppose before the game, do you take a point against Forest? It's not bad, but
it's not awful. Yeah, I think it was just the way we played that made it a bit.
Definitely. But I think what it did was a incredibly frustrated manager going into the Derby game, and probably a very frustrated team. And I think sort of pushed us on to, that real, what was a defining fixture, probably more for them than us. So what were your thoughts about, he did make a few changes. What did you think about the changes that he made?
I liked them. I wasn't completely, I think, to be honest, I was quite excited to see Leko because I thought, it's your birthday. You're going to bag on your birthday. I was certain that today was Leko's day. And in fairness, he had an all right game. I'd say the last 3 games, Leko's been okay work rate-wise. I'd say work rate has been, second to none. He's been brilliant. He's just really unlucky in front of goal at the moment. But no, overall, the selection, I thought it was fair. I was sad to see Sanchez and Bella out again, but obviously they just don't fit that shape. But no, overall, I was quite happy, and I thought we played well in that first half. But no, I was happy with the lineup, and it was good to see Jukey in the squad because he likes a goal against Derby, so that was always promising.
Yeah, I think with Leko, he's had a lot of clog. He's had a lot of clog on social media, which, if you look at it and try and take the emotion out, what's he there to do? He's there to score goals. Does he look like he's going to score a goal? Not for me at the moment. But having said that, I do think that we have to take into consideration he's been out for a long time. And I think that once he's got a pre-season in him, I think we should probably be judging him on the first 10 to 12 games next season. Because if he's not doing it then, for me, the excuses are sort of out. He's had the full support of the manager. I mean, Bowyer's been more than supportive. He's picked him when probably a lot of us wouldn't have done. If he can get a pre-season under his belt, then he'll be fit. And then that's it. This is it. Can he do it at championship level on a consistent basis? I think the struggle he'll find is if Hogan and Djukovic are fit, I don't know where he gets in. So we'll have to see. But so that, I mean,
especially if we bring in another edition.
Exactly. And let's not forget, Lord Lucan's still there at Cosgrove. No, I mean, nobody's seen him for,
I think we'll see him in the next 2 games.
I think we will see him in the next few games, but I also think that he might be surplus to requirements. It's just, for him, it's timing. And it's an asset there. And it may be that we have to take one on the chin and sell him for $1.5 million. And Bowyer get his own player in, because I think that's what he's going to be after. And I think the other one with the selection was Seddon. Again, fair play. I mean, there's been, for all season, people have been, well, not just this season, for a couple of seasons, people have been screaming for him to play, and he's had his chance, and he got it again on the weekend. So I'll probably talk a little bit more about that. So just how did you think that? Let's do first and second half, mate. I mean, how did you see the game sort of playing out from sort of kickoff?
Well, where do you start? That first half was, scrappy is probably the
Yeah.
best way to go about it. It was hard to watch.
Yeah.
It wasn't pretty. And they've gone 1-0 up with the first real chance of the game. And it's a break. To be honest, in fairness, I'd say we could have had a better chance before that. When I think Colin puts a ball in behind across goal, and Seddon is there in behind, and he'd have still got to the ball even if he was just a little bit further onside.
Yeah.
So it was a shame for that chance to be missed because Seddon was offside. Because I do really think we could have caused problems from that one. However, then they've gone on. Harley Dean's calling for Pedersen to mark Kazim Richards in a very short space of time. For
Yeah.
me, I'd say that was more Dean's fault than it was Pedersen, because it was
Yeah.
Dean's man, and I don't think he's given Pedersen enough time to even think about marking him. How quick that ball comes in the end. But the thing is, as well, Dean doesn't stick a leg out. Which was frustrating. And I do think it was just a slight defensive mix-up. So obviously we went 1-0 down at the break, and then you're like, right, come on, Blues, we need to respond in this second half. But I wasn't feeling that promising
But
because...
Tom, just I think on that, you're absolutely right about it was a defensive mix-up. And again, we've all, I mean, it's been great over the last 6 weeks. It's all been really positive, and we've been sort of, there's been nothing to criticise.
Yeah.
And it would be harsh. I mean, every team makes mistakes during a game, and they're not the individual mistakes that we were making under Karanka. But I said a couple of weeks ago, those pockets behind the wing backs and the wider centre half, well, the centre halves of a three, that's a massive problem because there's just so much space. And what happens is you get to a point where somebody's driving in towards the box from the byline, and there's just nobody closing him down. And it did just in a very on a very snapshot view. That goal did hark back a little bit to Karanka because it was disorganised. Dean was out of position. As soon as it went in, he went to blame somebody else, which was very much the backdrop of the majority of the time under Karanka.
I think when he watches it back, he'll hold his hand up.
Yeah, but I mean, and this is
I hope so.
but this is coming from me. He's been due one because he's been outstanding. So, but yeah, I agree with you. I think that goal and that sort of performance we haven't really seen that so far under Bowyer.
Yeah, and the best part, and it really shows the difference between Bowyer and Karanka, was the second half change in system and approach. But not only that, was the fact that you didn't see that anymore from the defenders. They still look confident, if not more confident.
Yeah.
Whereas before, if we concede a mistake like that, they all just flow in. And a great example of that is Derby at home under Karanka when we played them before. Conveniently, one individual error, 1-0 down, and then 3 more follow, like 2 of them not long after. So for the response to be so good and positive, and the confidence still booming despite being 1-0 down, was just refreshing. It was really, really refreshing. And then obviously second half we've gone on to attack them more, play through the centre a bit more, but made sure we're still getting the ball in wide areas to our best crosses. And we've always got 2 crosses of the ball available out wide every time, whether it be Colin and Sanchez, or Sanchez and Mark Roberts, or Mark Roberts and Colin. There's always somebody there on the right. Same for the left. It could be Halilovic, it could be Seddon, it could be McGree, anyone like that, even Gardner at times. So there's always wide options to get the ball into the box, and I do think that's a big focus for Blues because you've got Jukey in there, and Jukey literally, let's be honest, he was running riot on that Derby back line. And that style of play that we changed during the second half paid dividends, and we were getting the ball in the box and we were scoring goals. But that second Jukey goal at Derby, have got to really look at that and be embarrassed in a sense, because if you're going to mark anyone in the box, I'm sorry, you've got to mark the best header of a ball in the Championship, and they didn't. they just didn't. They let him freely run at the back post and go, "Oh, cheers, lads!" And he's diving headed it in the back of the net. I'm not going to complain. I thought it was a beautiful header and 2 good goals. And we finally scored from Mark Roberts' throw-in. So there's always big positives. But we have been saying recently how dangerous that throw-in has been of late. And it just looks different than usual. And it looks more planned rather than just hit and hope. So yeah, no, it's great to see, and obviously a great win in the end.
Yeah, and with the long throw-ins, everybody, obviously, you one of the main stats in any game is how many corners do you get. Well, when we get a throw-in their own half, it because it's so flat that it is like a cross, and I like the way we change it up sometimes because it does keep sides guessing. But I think for me, the only time it was ineffective was I think we played. I think it was Millwall, and there was and anyway, the same centre half, Pinnock, was just clearing it every single time.
Oh yeah, Brentford, that was it.
Yeah, but sorry, Brentford, that was it. Brentford.
Yeah, I remember Pinnock just got to all of them.
Yeah, and it's okay. We'll just get it away from him, or somebody stand on him. But they've definitely done work on it, and I think the second half was a really good example of what you get with Bowyer that you didn't get with Karanka, and that was he's been brave enough to put Seddon in, and for me, I think Seddon's got a lot to do to get into this team for next season. A lot to do. It's a bit like Dacres Cogley. I think they're always good enough to get in and around the squad. Are they good enough to start? I do think the jury's out. So he's made the call to put him in. Probably hasn't worked the way that he wanted it to do. So it's a big call for him to put him in, and he's taking him out and put Sanchez in. So he's not shy, and obviously Sanchez very much more on the front foot. And then the double substitution where Gardner, he's going to be leggy. He's played every bloody minute, for pretty much since Bowie's been there. And and then McGree coming off and Halilovic coming in, and lots of attacking intent there. But bringing San Jose on,
that was ballsy.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
I was terrified when he did it.
I think if any people that have watched the pod going back, since we've been on in January, I've always felt that San Jose, you can't play 300 La Liga games and be a bad footballer.
Be bad.
It just doesn't happen. And I think the first few games we actually did see a good footballer in there. Then he got put into centre half, and he just ain't quick enough. To be fair, he could probably play in a 3.
I actually think he could play in a 3 at the
play in
moment.
a 3, but he can't play in a 2. Well, obviously a 4-4-2 is the 2, so he can't do that. But as that sort of quarterback dictating play from deep, picking a pass, some of his passing, and I mean he's only on for half an hour.
It was unreal,
and it was unreal, brilliant. And I just, he's on a wedge. We've got him. I can't see a lot of people wanting to buy a 34-year-old guy that's been in and out of a championship side. We'll get, there's not going to be a lot of takers because he's going to want the wages he's on at Blues, which are a lot. So I'm really chuffed that. And in fairness, he actually played all right in the 23s game when Bowyer came in. So I'm a big fan of that. I'm really, really pleased that he got a game. Halilovic again always has an impact on games when he comes on. And Jukey just looks like he's just reborn. And with Derby, I'm with you that you can't leave a player like Jukey and Mark, but that's why they are where they are. That's why they're dropping like a stone. And if you watch that ball coming in, they're all ball watching. Everybody's just looking at. Nobody's got any awareness of what's behind them. And you've got 6'3", 4 monster who's your best header in the league, and you get game over. And Halilovic, was unlucky when he hit the post, and we probably could have had another. So. I think as bad as the first half was, and I think we were bad, but again, I think Bowyer's learning on the job with the players he's putting in around what capabilities have they got. If they're pragmatic, and I'd put a sort of a Seddon in that in that argument, and certainly said, and it takes away from our natural sort of going forward play. And now we've got what you class as, with the three at the back, you chuck Colin in there, and if you're playing Gardner and Sunjic, I don't think you need any more defensive-minded players than that, because if any more, what are you doing going forward? So I think he's learning. And the next two games are going to be really, really interesting. But, I mean, what a turnaround. If we'd have been, when we were sat here, oh God, Wickham, Coventry, pick a performance.
Yeah, and it's all come from just playing to people's strengths. It really is that simple.
Yeah.
And it shows that we are a better squad than where we were. And we said this for so long, that squad shouldn't be where it was. And, now we are looking more like where we should be. And I predicted us to finish 15th under Bowyer, and we're one place off it. And if we beat Blackburn last game of the season, we finish 15th. And I take my prediction.
No, I think a lot of people. I think you called 15th very early on.
Yeah,
and we were miles off that. I mean, how many points? Well, we're averaging 2 points a game, or just over 2 points a game since he's come in, and you win leagues doing that.
Yeah, you do.
So, okay, it's only been a short period of time, and I think the euphoria that must be in that dressing room. I mean, who wouldn't want to be in there, and who wouldn't want to come to the club? That's the other thing to bear in mind.
What's crazy is that they're all so open about him so early on when they're asked to do interviews. Players in there have been asked what it's like, and they're like, best it's ever been. Like, and that's a statement. Obviously, all of the Rowett boys are gone now, but the ones that are in there, some of them are still from the Zola era. So the only one who had a taste of Rowett really was Jukey, but it was only really a loan spell and then half a season. But no, for them all to be saying how good it is, it already being virtually the best is just great. It's really great to hear.
Yeah, and it then just sort of the relief. I mean, let's be fair. It'd have been bloody unlucky if we hadn't have been safe, even if we'd have lost to Derby.
Yeah.
But just that mathematical job done. Big sigh of relief. I'm not going to lie. I did get involved on Saturday night. That is for sure. The best on Sunday.
Yeah, I had a few Estrellas.
But it's that sort of looking back to what relegation would have meant for the club. And I remember speaking to, when we've had so many ex-players on, whether it be Martin O'Connor or Tatey or whoever it was, and saying, relegation, what do you think? And I said, when we got relegated last time around, different circumstances, but it was the Fry era, and it was the best time for me, even including the Prem, watching the Blues, just from a experience point of view. There's been nothing like it. It would have been different this time around, and it could have been very, very damaging for the club. And now, I think it has gone full circle. The obvious problems of the ownership and Dong and who owns the ground and everything else haven't gone away.
Yeah.
But for a change, we're now more focused on what's going on the pitch, looking forward to the next games, even though we've got nothing really to play for. But I think what we have got to play for is that sort of taking the impetus into the off season. Hopefully we can go and see a few pre-season friendlies wherever they may be.
Yeah, I think I'd just like to see us finish the season undefeated, to be honest. My personal prediction is a draw against Cardiff and a win against Blackburn. That's what I'm feeling right now. But there's no reason why we can't turn over Cardiff, because they've got nothing to play for, and our home form's been great of late. So, but no, I think personally I'm going to say a draw and a win for those two.
I think the only thing that I would say, I think he's alluded to with Amari Miller. I think he's going to start,
which excites me.
Yeah,
definitely.
And me. I mean, there's not a lot to him, but the boy's got a lot of talent on the ball. He's quick. and he doesn't seem phased. Some young players that come into the team, they probably feel the need to change their game from what they play in the 23s, where they're one of the better players, to go into pro football, and it's hold it up, knock it square, knock it back, and don't take players on.
He feels like he's got a goal in him as well.
Yeah, I think his positive attitude reminds me of when Damari Gray first came into the side. Just that
the step overs, taking everybody on.
Yeah, and I hope that Bowyer is the type of manager, and I think he probably is, that he's just going to say more of the same. Just do what you've got into this position by playing a certain way. Keep playing to that way. I think there's a lot of coaches that change young players and coach it out of them, and it's, I hate seeing that. We've got, as I said, we've got enough players that can do a job off the ball and keep us in games defensively. You want to just give him the ball. It's a bit like a difference, but I'd like to see Ililovic play in a role where it's everything goes through him and he's just consistently on the ball to the point where he's absolutely knackered after an hour and he gets taken off. But yeah, I'm with you, mate. I think that the coming games, and we'll do a sort of a more in-depth sort of preview of the game coming up. But I just fancy us against anybody at the moment.
Yeah.
And I think the only thing that I would temper that with is if he does make wholesale changes.
The chemistry might get a little bit damaged.
Yeah. But I can't see him taking any of the defence out. I can't see him changing. Yeah, Sunjic, I just don't. I don't know. I just don't know.
Do you know what? I think
he's looked better. He's looked better.
Exactly. I think the only player I'm gutted about is Clark Salter, to be honest.
Yeah. But I also think that there is a theme with Bowyer. So Harper's not had a run. He's on loan. Clark Salter hasn't a run. He's on loan. And I think he's maybe looking at the players that are on the books that he's going to have for next season. That's what he's got to play with. There's no point putting a Harper in if he's got no intention of signing, because then you've got to find somebody else.
I was going to say, I think he's playing the players that he believes he can keep at the club next season.
100%, mate. You're right. You're absolutely right. So I think there's method in there to go first with the players that are under contract, and if they don't work out, shut the loan players in. And it makes sense. And in fairness to him, it's worked, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen with George Friend. I don't know. Is he on a 2-year?
Yeah, he's on a 2-year deal.
Okay.
I think he's a good one to have behind the scenes.
I agree. He feels like a good club man, as they used to say many years ago. But, I think sort of wrapping it up, just disappointing performance in the Derby game to start off with. But I thought we ended the second half. We were brilliant when those players came on. And, we were unlucky with the Forest game. But I think with the Rotherham game, we were probably a little bit fortunate. So it all comes out in the wash in the end. So yeah. But safety and very much planning for the coming games. So yeah, I guess you're going to be watching and sort of relishing the last two games, mate.
Yep, definitely. I just can't believe we're safe with 2 games to go. It's unbelievable, unheard of.
It's like an anticlimax, isn't it?
It is.
I'm more than happy.
I'm bored.
I can relax now. But over the close season, we're looking to get some time with a few people behind the scenes that will be able to give some updates around, when season tickets go on sale and what's going on with the stadium and all those things. So just that.
Just a shame the fucking ground's broke.
Well, maybe hopefully there'll be an update on that. To what end, I don't know. But I certainly think we'll get clarity on that in the next few weeks.
Yeah.
Because obviously that just purely on a financial point of view, Championship football next season, a side that we all want to go and see. Nobody's been there for over a year. If that isn't record season ticket sales, I'd be absolutely amazed. They've got everything going for them, but they need to have a ground that we can fit in. So, they probably do need to be Yeah, but I don't think it's as simple as a couple of nuts and bolts here. I think there's some pretty major work to be done. So
Yeah.
I just need to double down and get involved in that. So, but mate, thanks for your time. I mean, that's who knew we'd get to safety. I think even when we started this sort of journey in January, it was going to be probably going to the last game of the season, and it hasn't. And
I know it's balmy.
thoroughly enjoyed it. So we'll have a look at the next few games over the coming days. But thanks a lot for your time, Tom. Been brilliant, son.
No worries. Just before we go,
Yeah.
what's your Cardiff score prediction?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm fancying a 2-2.
To be honest, mate, I sent you a text saying we'd been 2-1 against Forest, and then back 2-0 because I'm an idiot. Standard for me. I just don't. I think it would be. I think we've always got a goal in us. I'd say 2-0. I would say 2-0. I can't see him dropping Jukey. I think that Miller's going to get a chance up front with him.
Yeah.
I think he'll terrify defences. And you imagine that pace running onto flick-ons. Who knows? And the kid might get. I think if he starts, don't be surprised if he scores. And if anybody out there fancies a punt, I would imagine he'll be a decent price because the bookies won't price him up. So you could be looking 8, 9, first goal scorer, which might be worth an investment. But no, I think we'll win. I think we'll win the last 2 games. I really do. That they're going to be. I mean, Christ, can you imagine that team without any pressure? They're flying anyway. So I think we're going to see some really good football, some really good performances, and really looking forward to next season. So we'll see. So I guess we're both in a positive mindset. So we'll see what happens. But so not long to wait now. Another good performance, hopefully. And keep the comments coming in, everybody. We'll sort of go through the best ones in the next couple of pods, and really appreciate your feedback. But between now and then, stay safe and keep right on.